Marriage often begins with dreams, bright, hopeful, and full of promise. But what happens when those dreams begin to crumble under the weight of hidden pain and quiet sacrifices? Vanessa and Garrett's story starts like many others, two young people, full of ambition and love, stepping into a new life together in a small Chicago apartment. Their love was tender, their plans grand, yet beneath the surface of their seemingly ordinary marriage lay a simmering storm, one that would test the very core of their bond. Vanessa was more than just a wife, she was the silent pillar holding their fragile world together. Her dreams were simple, to build a home filled with warmth, laughter, and eventually, children, but life had other plans. Early in their marriage, Vanessa faced a heart-wrenching loss, a decision that left a permanent scar. She discovered she could never conceive a child. The future she had envisioned suddenly felt unreachable, shadowed by grief and quiet desperation. Garrett, young and driven, was a man of action and ambition. His eyes were fixed on success, on building a life where neither he nor Vanessa would ever want for anything. He carried the weight of their financial burdens silently, chasing deals and opportunities that promised a better tomorrow. Their early days were marked by sacrifices, living on the edge of poverty, scraping together every penny to repay loans, and surviving on little more than bread and water at times. Vanessa found comfort in her role at home, managing the household with quiet grace, even as doubts gnawed at her heart. She often wondered if her love and sacrifices were enough to hold their marriage together. Garrett's world was different. He moved with a purpose, sometimes distant, often preoccupied. The dreams they once shared began to feel like two separate paths. His ambitions sometimes eclipsed Vanessa's quiet hopes, and she was left grappling with loneliness in their cramped apartment. Yet, she held on to the promise Garrett made every day, that they would build a future together, a future where she would never regret choosing him. But beneath Garrett's confident exterior lurked an undercurrent of tension. The couple's differing views on family planning created cracks in their foundation. When Vanessa became pregnant, Garrett's reaction was far from what she expected. His pragmatic, almost cold logic about their financial and living conditions crushed her hopes. The crushing decision to terminate that pregnancy became a silent wedge between them, one that would later cast a long shadow over their relationship. Years passed, and the couple's struggles did not end. Vanessa's relentless hope for a child led her to doctors and clinics, chasing treatments that promised miracles but delivered disappointment. Garrett's patience wore thin, the love they shared slowly morphed into something distant, strained by unmet expectations and unspoken resentments. The fiery passion of their youth dimmed into a flicker of mere obligation. What happens when love and ambition clash with harsh realities? When a wife's silent suffering and a husband's relentless drive fail to intersect? Vanessa and Garrett's story is not just about marriage, it is about the invisible battles many couples face, the heartbreak of dreams deferred, and the creeping shadows that threaten to unravel the strongest bonds. If you've ever felt the sting of a dream slipping away or the quiet ache of a love tested beyond measure, this story will resonate deeply with you. It is a raw, unfiltered glimpse into the fragility of human connection and the resilience required to face the unknown. If you want to hear how this story unfolds, how Vanessa and Garrett navigate the impossible choices and devastating truths that lie ahead, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Your support fuels more stories like this, stories that touch the heart and reveal the hidden struggles behind the facades. Before we dive deeper into Vanessa and Garrett's journey, here's a question for you to think about. When faced with a devastating challenge in a marriage, what is the most important thing to hold on to? Unconditional love and commitment, be practical solutions and personal ambitions. Comment or be below and let us know what you think. Your perspective matters, and we want to hear from you. Garrett's health began to falter in ways subtle yet alarming, though at first, neither he nor Vanessa fully grasped the gravity of the situation. It started with a discomfort in his stomach, something he dismissed as a minor irritation caused by his hectic lifestyle and poor eating habits. The quick grab-and-go meals, the constant travel, and the stress of running a growing business had taken their toll, but Garrett was convinced it was nothing serious. He pushed through the pain, swallowing pills to quiet the ache, refusing to give in to the warning signs his body was sending. Vanessa, however, was not so easily reassured. She watched as the man she loved grew thinner and more withdrawn, his energy draining away day by day. Her concern was met with resistance. Garrett scoffed at her insistence on medical visits, accusing her of wasting time and money on endless doctor's appointments, but Vanessa knew better. Years of watching loved ones face illness had taught her to trust her instincts, and the quiet fear that gnawed at her heart would not be silenced. Behind Garrett's dismissiveness was a deeper fear, one he refused to acknowledge even to himself. The thought of being vulnerable, of being sick and dependent, clashed violently with the image of strength and control he had built around himself. For Garrett, illness was a threat not only to his body but to his identity, to the carefully constructed life he had fought so hard to create. To admit weakness was to admit failure. When Vanessa discovered the truth, it was during one of Garrett's business trips. The thought of being vulnerable, of being sick and dependent, clashed violently with the image of strength and control he had built around himself. For Garrett, illness was a threat not only to his body but to his identity, to the carefully constructed life he had fought so hard to create. To admit weakness was to admit failure. When Vanessa discovered the truth, it was during one of Garrett's business trips. The thought of being vulnerable, of being sick and dependent, clashed violently with the image of strength and control he had built around himself. For Garrett, illness was a threat not only to his body but to his identity, to the carefully constructed life he had fought so hard to create. To admit weakness was to admit failure. When Vanessa discovered the truth, it was during one of Garrett's business trips. The gulf between them grew wider as Garrett's condition worsened. He continued to evade doctors, to bury himself in work and fleeting pleasures, seeking escape in late nights and secretive trips. Vanessa's worrying deepened with every missed appointment, every unexplained absence. She pleaded, threatened, begged him to confront the reality he refused to see, but Garrett's walls only grew thicker. He was a man at war with his own mortality, trapped between denial and despair. This internal battle manifested in his relationship with Vanessa. The man who once promised a shared future became distant and irritable, their conversations fraught with tension and unspoken fears. Garrett's avoidance of his illness was not just a personal struggle. It became a wedge driving them apart, leaving Vanessa isolated in her care and concern. She was left to shoulder the weight of their unraveling life alone, wondering how to reach the man she loved before it was too late. The pain of watching Garrett slip away physically, emotionally was compounded by a profound sense of helplessness. Vanessa's efforts to keep him grounded, to anchor him to the hope of recovery, often felt like shouting into a void. She faced the crushing realization that some battles must be fought alone, and that love, no matter how fierce, could not heal all wounds. And yet, despite everything, Vanessa held onto a fragile hope, a belief that somewhere beneath the fear and denial, Garrett still wanted to fight. Her love became both a shield and a lifeline, a promise that no matter the outcome, he would never face his darkest hours alone. It was this hope, this unwavering commitment, that defined her every action, even as the shadows of illness grew longer and the future more uncertain. The story of Garrett's health decline is not just about sickness. It is about the human spirit caught in the clash between fear and courage, denial and acceptance. It is about the complex dance between two people bound by love, struggling to navigate a path through the unknown. And it is a reminder that sometimes the hardest battles are fought not in hospital rooms or with medical charts, but in the quiet spaces between hearts. Vanessa's journey alongside Garrett in this dark chapter reveals the raw, unspoken challenges many couples face when confronted with illness, a test of love that demands resilience, compassion, and sometimes the courage to let go. As we continue to explore their story, consider this: how do we hold on to hope when the reality feels unbearable? And how do we support those we love when they are too afraid to face their own pain? The answers may not be simple, but they are at the heart of every relationship tested by adversity. Garrett's world, already fragile from the shadows of illness and denial, soon became fractured by another force, one born not from disease, but from desire and escape. The secret life he carved out was a refuge from the suffocating weight of his crumbling marriage and the relentless pressure of his failing health. It was a double existence that would soon unravel everything he had fought so hard to protect. In a bustling city far from their modest Chicago apartment, Garrett met Rachel young, vibrant, and intoxicatingly free. She was everything Vanessa was not: carefree, unapologetic, and untethered by the responsibilities that anchored Garrett's daily life. Their connection was instant, fueled by a potent mix of loneliness and the desperate need for normalcy. For Garrett, Rachel represented a brief reprieve from the relentless storm of sickness and duty. For Rachel, he was a man offering attention and affection, a promise of something more than the quiet anonymity of her waitress shifts. Their affair began in a haze of stolen moments and whispered promises, a fragile bubble suspended in time. Garrett's guilt was palpable but buried beneath layers of justification. He told himself this was a mistake, a single lapse in a life otherwise devoted to Vanessa. Yet, what started as a fleeting escape soon deepened into a secret relationship that Garrett could neither control nor end. The birth of their son, Johnny, was a turning point, a living, breathing reminder of Garrett's fractured loyalties and the impossible choices ahead. Rachel was clear from the start. She wanted no illusions, no promises of marriage or forever. She demanded support, stability for her child, and a place in Garrett's life. On her terms, Garrett's response was conflicted. He loved Vanessa and felt bound by their decade together, yet he was drawn inexorably toward Rachel and the son he now had a responsibility to raise. The tension between these two lives was unbearable, a constant source of strain and secrecy. As Rachel's demands grew, so did Garrett's desperation. He tried to maintain the illusion of normalcy with Vanessa, continuing his facade of a committed husband, while slipping away into the other world he had created. The weight of his deception was crushing, yet he clung to the belief that he could somehow balance the irreconcilable, a husband to one woman, a father to another, and a man too afraid to confront the truth. Vanessa, meanwhile, was blindsided by the unraveling of her marriage. The man she had stood by through illness and hardship was now a stranger, carrying secrets that cut deeper than any physical pain. When Garrett finally brought Rachel and Johnny into the apartment, the fragile thread holding Vanessa's world together snapped. The shock of betrayal was profound, a wound that no amount of time or explanation could heal. The woman who had once vowed to care for Garrett in sickness and in health found herself cast out, discarded as if she were a mere inconvenience. The breakdown of their family was not just a private tragedy. It was a brutal collision of love, duty, and selfishness. Garrett's double life was a manifestation of his fear of facing his mortality, fear of losing control, fear of the unknown. Yet, it was also a betrayal of the vows he had made, a fracture in the foundation of trust that Vanessa had so painstakingly built. Rachel's presence was a stark contrast to Vanessa's quiet strength. Where Vanessa offered care and concern, Rachel demanded attention and security. Where Vanessa endured hardship in silence, Rachel voiced frustration and impatience. The clash between these two women, each connected to Garrett in profoundly different ways, underscored the complexity of love and loyalty tangled in the web of human frailty. Garrett's attempts to navigate this complicated terrain often ended in failure. His illness progressed, his energy waned, and the duplicity of his life became too heavy to bear. Yet, he continued, caught in a liminal space between responsibility and desire, love and self-preservation. The consequences rippled beyond the immediate circle. Johnny, caught in the crossfire, became a symbol of what was lost and what remained. His innocence stood in stark relief against the chaos surrounding him. Garrett's inability to reconcile his roles as husband, father, and patient left Johnny adrift, a child struggling to understand fractured loyalties and absent care. This period in Garrett and Vanessa's story is a powerful exploration of the human condition, how love can be both a source of profound strength and a catalyst for devastating pain. It reveals the messy, imperfect reality behind the idealized image of marriage, where promises are tested by circumstances beyond control, and where forgiveness is both elusive and necessary. The double life Garrett led was not just a secret kept from Vanessa. It was a symptom of a deeper crisis, a man grappling with his own fears and failures, trying to hold on to pieces of a life slipping through his fingers. It is a story of betrayal, yes, but also of the desperate search for meaning and connection in the face of impending loss. As you reflect on this chapter, consider the complexities of love when it is stretched thin by fear and desperation. What would you do if caught between two worlds, two families, and the looming shadow of mortality? How do we forgive when the wounds run so deep?
Share your thoughts below and stay with us as we continue to unravel the next chapters of Vanessa and Garrett's journey, a story that is as heartbreaking as it is real. Vanessa's life was irrevocably altered the moment Garrett closed the door behind her, leaving behind not just the apartment they had shared for years, but the dreams and promises that had once defined their union. What followed was a journey marked by pain, resilience, and the painstaking task of rebuilding a shattered sense of self. Alone in a rented room far from the life she had known, Vanessa faced a world that felt both foreign and unforgiving. The early days after the separation were a blur of confusion and quiet desperation. Vanessa, who had devoted so much of herself to their marriage and to caring for Garrett, found herself suddenly untethered.
Without the safety net of a familiar home or the routine that had given her purpose, she grappled with the void left by betrayal and abandonment. The emotional wounds were raw, but the physical toll was equally severe. A violent encounter with a neighbor left her hospitalized, a stark reminder of the vulnerability that now defined her existence. Despite the setbacks, Vanessa's spirit refused to break. Drawing upon a strength she hadn't fully recognized before, she sought to carve out a new life from the fragments of the old. With the help of Jared, Garrett's longtime friend and business partner, and Natalie, Jared's wife, Vanessa began to navigate the daunting realities of independence. It was Jared's pragmatic guidance that helped her secure a modest apartment within her limited means, while Natalie offered a semblance of social connection in a life that had suddenly grown isolating. Vanessa's return to the workforce was neither easy nor glamorous. After years dedicated to managing the household and supporting Garrett's ambitions, she faced the harsh truth that her skills were outdated and her resume thin. Yet, every small victory, a successful job interview, a paycheck earned, became a beacon of hope, a testament to her determination to reclaim control over her life. The days were long and the challenges relentless, but Vanessa embraced each one with quiet courage. Yet the shadow of Garrett's illness and the fractures of their broken family lingered, casting a pall over her attempts at renewal. The legal battles over custody of Johnny, Garrett and Rachel's son, added another layer of complexity and emotional strain. Vanessa's maternal instincts wrestled with the knowledge that Johnny was both a symbol of Garrett's betrayal and a child in need of care and protection. It was a painful paradox, one that forced Vanessa to confront her own capacity for forgiveness and compassion in ways she had never imagined. In moments of solitude, Vanessa wrestled with her own grief and resentment. She questioned how love that once felt so steadfast could unravel so completely. Yet, she also discovered reservoirs of empathy and strength, recognizing that healing was not linear and that new beginnings often arise from the depths of pain. Her journey was not just about survival, but about transformation, about redefining identity beyond the roles imposed by marriage and motherhood. Vanessa's story during this time is a poignant reminder of the resilience of the human spirit in the face of profound loss. It is about the courage to step into the unknown, to rebuild from ruins, and to find meaning beyond what was lost. It is a testament to the quiet power of endurance and the hope that even in the darkest moments, new light can emerge. As Vanessa forged her path forward, she did so not as the woman Garrett had known, but as someone reborn through trial and heartbreak. Her story invites us to reflect on the nature of healing and the possibilities that lie beyond endings. How do we find the strength to start over when everything familiar has been taken away? How do we reconcile love with loss, betrayal with forgiveness? These questions linger as Vanessa's journey continues, a journey that speaks to anyone who has faced the pain of broken trust and the daunting promise of a new beginning. Stay with us as we explore the next chapter, one that holds both the weight of the past and the hope of what lies ahead. In the final chapters of Vanessa and Garrett's story, the fragile threads that had long held their lives together began to unravel completely, giving way to moments of heartbreaking clarity and unexpected grace. Garrett, whose health had steadily declined under the weight of advanced illness and the burdens of a fractured life, reached a point where the illusions he had clung to could no longer be sustained. The reality of mortality pressed upon him with relentless force, and in this vulnerable space, The man who had once hidden his pain behind layers of denial sought reconciliation. The call Vanessa received was both a shock and a summons to confront a past she thought she had left behind. Garrett's voice, weak but filled with a sincere regret, broke through years of silence and pain. He asked for forgiveness, not just for the betrayals and secrets, but for the years lost to fear and avoidance. It was a plea that carried the weight of impending farewell, a desire to make peace before the end came too soon. Vanessa's response was measured with a depth of compassion born from experience and a heart that had weathered storms. Despite the wounds inflicted, she chose to set aside bitterness, recognizing the fragility of the moment. Their meeting was not one of grand declarations or rekindled romance, but of shared humanity. Two people who had once loved deeply, now facing the inevitable with a mix of sorrow and grace. In the quiet space of a hospice room, surrounded by the stillness of approaching loss, Vanessa and Garrett found a way to connect beyond the pain. Conversations were sparse but meaningful, filled with unspoken understanding and a mutual acknowledgement of the journey they had traveled, both together and apart. It was here that Vanessa's steadfastness shone brightest, offering comfort without judgment, presence without expectation. Garrett's passing was a profound moment of finality that echoed through the lives intertwined with his own. Jared, stepping into a role that blended friendship, loyalty, and responsibility, took on the care of Johnny, Garrett's son with Rachel. The transition was fraught with tension, not least from Natalie, Jared's wife, whose ambivalence toward raising a child not her own added complexity to the fragile new family dynamic. Yet, within this turmoil, there was a shared commitment to provide Johnny with a semblance of stability and love amidst the upheaval. Rachel's attempt to reclaim her son stirred conflict and legal battles, highlighting the messy intersections of rights, motherhood, and abandonment. The courtroom became another arena where the scars of betrayal and loss were laid bare, forcing all involved to confront the consequences of past choices. Johnny, at the center of this storm, embodied both innocence and resilience, a living testament to love's complicated legacies. Vanessa's path forward was one of quiet strength and self-discovery. The experiences she endured, from love and loss to betrayal and forgiveness, shaped her into a woman who understood the nuances of healing. She learned that moving on did not mean forgetting, and that closure was not a neat resolution, but a continuous process of acceptance. Her relationship with Garrett remained a bittersweet memory, a chapter closed but never erased. This final act in their story illuminates the profound realities faced by many couples grappling with illness, infidelity, and the dissolution of shared dreams. It underscores the human capacity for forgiveness in the face of deep hurt, the complexities of love that persists beyond separation, and the delicate balance between holding on and letting go. Vanessa and Garrett's journey reminds us that life's endings are seldom tidy, that reconciliation often comes not as a grand gesture, but through quiet moments of understanding, and that the aftermath of loss can be both painful and transformative. It challenges us to consider how we approach the frailties within ourselves and others, and how we find grace amid imperfection. As we close this chapter, we are left with lingering questions about love, loyalty, and the ways in which we confront the finality of life. How do we find peace with those we have hurt and those who have hurt us? What does it mean to forgive when wounds run deep? And ultimately, how do we honor the complexity of human relationships that shape our lives in profound ways? Vanessa and Garrett's story does not offer easy answers, but it offers something perhaps more valuable, a mirror to our own struggles and a testament to the enduring power of empathy and understanding in the face of life's most challenging trials. Vanessa and Garrett's story is a profound tapestry of love, loss, betrayal, resilience, and ultimately transformation. It is a raw, unfiltered look into the complexities of human relationships, how promises once made with hope can unravel under the weight of illness, secrets, and unmet expectations. Their journey invites us to examine the fragile nature of trust and the enduring power of compassion, even when the bonds that tie us are stretched beyond breaking. Throughout their years together, Vanessa's unwavering commitment stood as a testament to the strength it takes to love someone through their darkest moments. Despite Garrett's denial, his betrayals, and the painful realities they faced, Vanessa found within herself a resilience that many might overlook. Her story is not just about suffering. It is about the courage to start over, to redefine identity beyond the roles society assigns, and to embrace new beginnings without forgetting the past. The lessons we can draw from their experience are as timeless as they are essential. First and foremost is the reminder that love alone does not guarantee happiness or stability. It requires honesty, communication, and the willingness to confront difficult truths together. When illness or hardship strikes, the temptation to hide pain or escape through secrets can be strong, but such avoidance often deepens wounds and fractures relationships. Openness, no matter how painful, is the foundation upon which healing can begin. Moreover, Vanessa's journey teaches us about the importance of self-worth and independence. In the face of betrayal and loss, reclaiming one's identity and sense of purpose is not just an act of survival, but a declaration of strength. It is a call to all of us to nurture our own dreams, to find communities of support, and to recognize that our value does not depend solely on our relationships with others. Their story also underscores the complexity of forgiveness. Forgiving someone who has caused deep hurt is rarely easy or immediate. It is a process that requires empathy, time, and sometimes the painful acceptance that forgiveness does not erase the past but frees us to move forward. Vanessa's capacity to forgive Garrett, even when his choices shattered her world, reveals a profound human grace that we can all strive to cultivate. In applying these lessons to our own lives, we must begin with honest self-reflection. Are we communicating openly with those we love? Are we holding on to fear or pride that prevents healing? How do we support loved ones facing challenges without losing ourselves in the process? The story invites us to embrace vulnerability as a strength and to seek help when needed, whether through friends, family, or professional guidance. For those navigating the rocky terrain of broken trust or illness in relationships, Vanessa and Garrett's journey is a beacon. It reminds us that while pain may be inevitable, despair does not have to be permanent. New beginnings are possible, and through resilience and compassion, we can create lives filled with meaning, even after loss. Before we close, I'd love to hear from you. What is the most important quality you believe a relationship must have to survive difficult times? Please share your thoughts by commenting below. Your perspective could inspire and help others facing similar struggles. If you found value in this story and the lessons shared, please consider subscribing to the channel to support more meaningful content. As the author ages, dedicating time to create helpful, heartfelt stories for you all is both a passion and a commitment. Donations, whether large or small, provide the encouragement needed to continue this work and bring more valuable knowledge to you. Your support, in any form, means the world and fuels the ongoing journey of sharing wisdom and hope. Thank you for being part of this community. Together, we grow stronger, wiser, and more compassionate every day.